Well, today I'm going to be talking to you about tolerance. What can we tolerate as athletes? True athletic potential is about one thing. Can I tolerate what I don't like? We have one major stumbling block as athletes that is unconsciously spread throughout our whole lives. So it should be no surprise that it infects our athletic endeavors the same way that it affects the rest of our life experience, right? I mean, we break our experience into two distinct categories, which comes with multiple word-based tags that we unconsciously repeat to ourselves: acceptable and unacceptable, liked and disliked, tolerable and intolerable, good and bad, right? We've talked about this again and again, but I keep talking about it because it's important. But what do we really know and understand about what is tolerable and what isn't? When you really look at it, I mean, it's easy, isn't it, to tolerate feeling good and functioning well when we feel and think this way. And we then give ourselves permission to focus and to allow ourselves to hurt. There's only one problem. This is woefully inconsistent, right? It sucks. When we operate like this, we're in a state of non-resistance to feeling good. And we're in resistance to feeling less than good. And that's a problem, because that's a state of against. This is no way to flow, Joe. If there's one thing that hampers athletic development and performance, it's a lack of flow, right? So how to work with this concept of likes and dislikes? Do what all athletes would rather avoid: explore your discomforts. Who wants to explore their discomforts? What good will that bring? Now, if you're serious about performance and you'd like to climb to the top of the competitive ladder, you'll want to do what others aren't prepared to do. And exploring your discomfort is probably the most illuminating action that you could take as an athlete, to explore the deeper hidden shadows of how you react to what you don't damn well like. Most could write a book about what they love, but really struggle to explain the discomfort, the hurt, and the pain, because it's stuffed so deep inside our subconscious, where we falsely believe it can't touch us. However, trust me, when the crap hits the fan, as it invariably will, the unconscious won't be an ally to you, won't be an ally you can lean on. It'll simply empty the contents of what you don't like into your consciousness and turn you into a state of resistance. That's a big problem. What we resist persists. If we want to accept our discomfort, we first have to know what it feels like. Not what we think it is, but the deeper truth of how it feels. And then the critical self-inquiry: is this idea of what I feel here as uncomfortable as my thoughts are making out? And the answer is often no. Am I adding to the feeling by tagging and labeling? What is the discomfort on its own without the thinking and the judgment? Pain is a warning signal. Discomfort is a dislike. If we want to know the truth of what's happening, we have to know the difference between a warning signal and a dislike. The mind won't do that for you. It's too conditioned to do so. And you could extend this to your whole life in exactly the same way we divide the experience of how our entire lives into likes and dislikes. We're very black and white in our thinking, and because we accept our likes and we know a lot about them, we don't know a damn thing about what we don't like. In any endeavor where performance or development is concerned, this black and white thinking is a serious limitation, right? You can't know what you don't know. And if you won't at least accept your dislikes, you'll never get inside them and find out what they're actually made of, what they feel like. Now, I'm not suggesting that you turn around and try to like what's happening, but what I am suggesting is you allow it to be part of your unavoidable experience. I'm going to say that again: unavoidable, right? When we reach new levels of fitness, of development, that's not the time to become complacent, thinking our new level of development is going to carry us through and that somehow we're all going to experience our discomforts and dislikes again. Never. If anything, this new level of development is about us being able to endure more of it, not less of it. Tolerate pain. I've seen many athletes thrive physically and then fold like a deck of cards under pressure on race day when the incorrect belief that fitness equates to performance doesn't hold water. A new fitness development level is like blood in your veins. The blood that fuels your muscles and keeps you alive needs to carry oxygen. If it lacks the essential iron, you become anemic and weak. It's the same in the way we think and how we react and the impulses. So like the iron in your blood, you need one essential ingredient to carry the oxygen you built up in training to your performance. And that ingredient is called acceptance, non-reactivity. This applies everywhere. Your training, your performance, your life, everywhere. So if you can accept what's happening, you can pick the bones out of it. You can get inside it. You can find out how to buffer it and how to allow it without reacting in a way that cuts you off to your flow. And if you think you can't perform well in discomfort, that's only because you don't actually understand discomfort. You're too busy thinking it. So discomfort is not a thought. It's not an idea. It's not a label and a tag. It's an energy. Granted, it isn't a light energy, but it's the energy becomes a lot more dense and heavy when you add the psychological weight of judgment and resistance to it. And it's a strange paradox when you really look at it. Why would you add more weight to your process when you're already under pressure? How and why do we believe that the addition of thought-based judgment and resistance are going to help us when we're already feeling the hurt and the discomfort? Why do we make ourselves victims of a process that we go into willingly? And if you're shifting in your seat, listening to this, maybe you need to be. Possibly you need to follow the discomfort of your resistance as you feel it, as you listen to these words. And if the situation of victimhood rings true for you in performance, then think about it. Look at it. Turn around. Practice the opposite. There are two sides to everything. If you can resist, you can accept. If you can judge, you can allow. If you can make yourself a victim, you can make yourself a conduit to the energy that's running through you. This is the truth. We're not meant to be trapping energy inside. If it stays with you longer than a few seconds, it's doing so because you're holding fast to the thought. Thoughts are also just energy. They arise and they dissolve like bubbles. They pop in a few seconds. They're not meant to float around in the ether indefinitely, torturing you, taunting you. Hanging on to a story for dear life will do nothing to help you solve a problem in the moment. You're just locking yourself in a cell of your own making and throwing away the key. I mean, this is really simple stuff. If you're going to travel from point A to point B, how are you going to do it? What do you need in between these 2 points for any mode of energy, including you, to make it from one point to another? Space, right? Space is the answer to that question. Yep. Now, if you're traveling from even, let's say, the lounge room to the kitchen, would you put a mountain of furniture in between you and the destination? Would that make any sense? Would it? Think about it. I mean, it is funny. We have this idea that we need to fill all the space in our lives with junk thought, junk food, junk ideas and concepts. We'll do anything to fill a void. We have absolutely no trust in stillness. We make our process a mechanical, chunky, outer world, thought-based cluster, you know what? And most of the time we bring that out on ourselves unconsciously. All this is brought to us by one simple equation that gets us into trouble over and over again. We think too much. We ruminate too much. We worry too much. We analyze too much. We feel too little. We know too much. And as a consequence, our understanding is very limited. Sometimes it takes an outside view to make the obvious, well, obvious. And I mean, I love this stuff. This, of course, is all well and good for me to sit here and say in hindsight, but if you're the one who's taking advantage or getting taken advantage of, it's the ability to cut through the layers of the complexity that will serve you. So I offer this to you as a possibility, a way of shortcutting the same space junk that I encountered in my racing career. I was pretty bad. You create every single reaction to what is served up to you at any given moment. And in that sense, you create your own reality. We say that again and again. And if you feel like a victim, it's all you're doing. Now, that's a responsibility to the only person that matters in the process. you. It's all about you. Always has been. Whether that responsibility is light or heavy is entirely up to you. I hope you got something out of that. Thanks for listening.